And shock.
Yes.
Shock. Two questions, very difficult. Maybe DIC a little bit and pulmonary thromboembolism. But another question from the topics very clear. I can talk a little bit about it, but you will find this information everywhere. About inflammation here, it is the main a great mistake, I think. Yeah, if you don't know inflammation in the exam, it's a great problem. Yeah. Therefore, okay. The last time I am asking you, what should we do exactly? What should we discuss today exactly?
So,
Inflammation or blood flow?
Inflammation.
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 Okay. Inflammation.
Ma'am, you can discuss 2.1 and 2.2 later. Right now, we can discuss inflammation.
Yes,
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, just clear this heart failure. Just these two, heart failure and shock from 2.1 and 2.2. Only these two topics, and rest you can discuss inflammation.
It's too much. We have to separate. Even heart failure needs separate time, I think, maybe with shock, because you will mix everything.
So only heart failure, because I have really searched about it a lot of, like, I have been reading it through the books, but it is not like so clear, and even the videos are not sufficient for heart failure. I really want this topic to be cleared. Heart failure, yeah.
It's exactly, yeah, it's your question, but about other students, a lot of students exactly want to listen about inflammation. Therefore, we have to pay attention to exactly most commonly, or not? Inflammation?
Yes, ma'am. Inflammation.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, you can find some time next week for 2.1 and 2.2 also. That time we can discuss heart failure and
if you're free at that time.
Yes, I hope. Yes, I hope. Okay, about inflammation, and I think, yeah, exactly. I'm going to give exactly information about inflammation, yeah. And I think I will do it from exactly two topics, except immune inflammation, yeah. Maybe a little bit about hypersensitivity reaction, I mean immune inflammation. Okay, first of all, I think I shouldn't give you definitions exactly. You can find it in the lecture material. Yeah, I will give the main. What should you understand? Yeah, what should you imagine about this exactly pathological process? And I want to start from terminology, from nomenclature, and how it means how should we build, how should we make the term, the name of disease, yeah, according to pathological process, yeah. If we are talking about inflammation, yeah, we should we should take the name, Latin or Greek name of organ or tissue, and we will add itis, and therefore we have the name of disease. It is inflammation in some specific tissue or organ. Yeah. For example, how should we name inflammation in the liver?
Hepatitis.
Hepatitis.
In kidney.
Nephritis.
Nephritis.
In the heart.
Carditis.
Or endocarditis.
It depends in which wall, because every wall is different tissue. Yeah, myocarditis, endocarditis, pericarditis, or pancarditis, or pannephritis if inflammation develops everywhere in all layers. Yeah. How should we name inflammation in the lung? It is exception, exactly. Pneumonia, or also pneumonia and pneumonitis. In truth, in clinic there are two different diseases. Yeah, exactly. You will work with a patient in Ukraine, I mean in clinical discipline, and you will see that we use generally pneumonia according to all inflammatory diseases exactly in low respiratory tract. Yeah, but in English literature, and I think that in yours also, you can see that it's like separate disease, pneumonitis. Yeah, the difference between them, location. Pneumonia, it is exactly inflammation, exudate accumulation in alveolar spaces, and pneumonitis develops in alveolar wall. Exactly, the wall enlarged and it's accumulate exudate, but usually cellular infiltrate. Okay, about nomenclature, I think it's understandable, yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
should it is understandable, yeah? Therefore, first of all, you have to understand that inflammation, in truth, it is protective property, protective reaction of organism. It's our protection against some injury. Yeah. And you remember we have studied necrosis, and what is the main difference between necrosis and apoptosis?
Inflammation.
Necrosis is inflammation.
Having
Around
inflammation.
by inflammation, yeah, because it is protection. Because necrosis is pathological process. It is critical injury, yeah, death of tissue. And this dying of tissue should be stopped, should be limited, and should be cleared. We cannot see it in apoptosis, because apoptosis is physiological, it's normal process. We don't need protection in it because it's norm. Yeah. Therefore, the main tasks of inflammation, it is exactly to clear region of inflammation, to clear from microbial agent if it was infected, yeah, and very often exactly inflammation caused by infection, some pathogen, viruses, bacteria, or another parasites, yeah. Inflammation, the task of inflammation to kill this microorganism, yeah, to clear organism, yeah, from these parasites, to clear dead tissue, yeah, because this dead tissue should disappear, and instead dead tissue should appear new tissue, yeah. A regeneration. Therefore, the last stage of inflammation, it is proliferation. It is characterized by regeneration in the inflammation, clearing and regeneration in the area of inflammation should be identified in the last stage of inflammation. Next task, to stop, yeah, stopping of this injury and inflammation, yeah. If it can happen, yeah, it can happen in immune deficiency, yeah, because exactly immune system give us ability for inflammation. This protective reaction, inflammation, depends on immune system function, yeah. And if immune system is exhausted, immune deficiency patient has, inflammation could be separated, yeah, could be not separated, could be spread in organism, yeah, and infection could become general, and it is sepsis, very severe a condition which can lead to death, sepsis, yeah, like general infection. Yeah, it is the main, yeah, to kill the pathogen, the cause of inflammation, to clear exactly injury region, and to regenerate, to restore injured tissue. Three main tasks of inflammation. You have to tell about it in the definition. And what else? Therefore, in the definition, you have to tell that it is protective reaction, yeah? It has three tasks, yeah? And it is mesenchymal vascular reaction. It means that just in presence of vessels, just exactly from vessels, inflammation could develop. Yeah, it means that, for example, in embryogenesis, in region, yeah, before in first 3 months of pregnancy, embryon doesn't have vessels. Yeah, vessels will appear later after exactly this exactly period, and in that period, inflammation in fetus, yeah, in embryogenesis couldn't develop. But after circulatory system appearance, inflammation in tissue in fetus can develop. Therefore, the main characteristic that it develops from vessels, because all inflammatory cells and water and another components of this inflammation, which is inflammatory components which are accumulated in region of inflammation, they come from blood vessels. Yes, therefore it is vascular reaction. But inflammation exactly develops in mesenchyma, in stroma. Yeah, it means in intracellular spaces, extra between cells. Sorry, yeah. It means that intracellularly it couldn't happen because the cell doesn't have vessels. It is extracellular process exactly in stroma, in mesenchyma, in extracellular space, inflammation develops. And vessels allocate also in stroma. Yeah? Therefore, it's stromal vascular or mesenchymal vascular reaction. And you have to tell about it in the definition because it is the main. Next, what should you know about inflammation? It has 3 stages. Alteration, exudation, and proliferation. Alteration, it is exactly injury. And just in the end of the first stage, we can see first clinical symptoms of inflammation. As general, there are 5 symptoms, clinical symptoms of inflammation. Yeah, do you know them? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Rubor, Caller, Dollar,
Rubor,
punctual,
Caller, tumor, dollar.
and punctual is, yeah.
In the first stage, what 2 clinical symptoms appear?
Rubor and Dollar.
Color.
And color.
Rubor and Caller.
Yeah, it means that region of inflammation, if it's happened in the skin, we can see. Yeah, this portion, this region becomes red and hot in touch. Yeah. Why? Because of hyperemia, because inflammatory arterial hyperemia develops in it. Is it clear? Because first mediators, which exactly, which mediator firstly appear, plasma or cellular?
Cellular.
cellular, because the destruction of cell, injury of cells, yeah, necrosis happens firstly, and from destroyed cells, exactly mediators, histamine, serotonin, exactly appear in that region, and this mediator lead to vascular changes. Firstly, spasm, very short, yeah, and very fast, exactly, spasm transforms into relaxing, yeah, dilation of vessel, which lead to arterial hyperemia. In that region, we can see too much blood, hyperemia, arterial blood, exactly, yeah, and therefore this region becomes more reddish and warmer, yeah, because a lot of these particles, moving particles, yeah. Okay, second stage, it's exactly it is exactly inflammation, yeah, and according to how does it develop, according to pathogenesis, yeah, because sometimes exactly some problems happens in the second stage and it is prolonged, yeah, it continues longer than usually, yeah, exudation. It leads to too much exudation, and exudate forms in it, and it is exudative inflammation. Therefore, in morphology, we use exactly, we are talking about two morphological kinds of inflammation, exudative and proliferative, or productive, also another name of the second one. In clinic, if we are talking about classification, we are talking about acute and chronic inflammation. Yeah, but exactly acute, it means exudative. We can't exactly tell because not always. Yeah, mostly, but some kinds of exudative inflammation can be chronic clinically, yeah, and the same according to proliferation. Mostly proliferative inflammation is chronic because it needs time, but not always. Sometimes some kinds of proliferative inflammation can be acute and very fast development. Therefore, for pathologies, the main classification exactly it is exudative or proliferative, and therefore, in your timetable, in your exactly topics from our lessons, you saw that firstly, 2.3 it is exudative inflammation and 2.4 proliferative inflammation. But usually, exactly, if inflammation is protective reaction, it isn't characterized by disease. Disease like hepatitis, nephritis, or another disease happens exactly in abnormal protective reaction development. If it's very long and some trouble happens exactly in that region, because if it's, for example, one bacteria penetrates in organism, protective reaction invisible for us, it's very fast. It means that alteration happens very fast, exudation, which gives macrophages, macrophage kills this bacteria, regeneration develops in proliferation stage, and it is invisible for people, for doctor. Yeah, if it is protective reaction, we can see inflammation, this clinical symptom, just in situation where inflammatory protection reaction is abnormal. Yeah, some for example, too much bacteria exactly have penetrated it in tissue, or bacteria very specific, or organism has immune deficiency, doesn't have enough macrophage, yeah, or phagocytic function of cells is decreased. Therefore, we can see disease, and we have to help the patient to improve this protective reaction, to become it faster. Okay. Exudation, the main task, I think that you can find the stages of exudation. I will not exactly tell them. The main, what should you understand in exudation, that exactly it leads to increased vascular permeability, plasmaregia, it means movement, yeah, of plasma through the vascular wall outside. And because of exudation, we can see exudate. Exudate, it is inflammatory fluid. Not always it is fluid, but mostly just in one inflammation. Exudate, it isn't liquid, it isn't fluid, yeah? Which kind of inflammation? Can you tell me? Which exudate? It isn't fluid.
Fibrinous. Fibrinous inflammation.
Fibrinous, yeah, fibrinous exudate. It is film, yeah, it has dense consistency. It's like consists of fibers, and it isn't fluid. It looks like network in the surface of mucosa, like film, yeah. Okay, but others exudates are fluids. The main component, exactly, mostly every of them, first of all, consists of water, yeah, because plasma consists of water, electrolytes, and minerals, yeah, and exactly plasma firstly come out from the vessels in exudation region. If exudative phase exactly is prolonged, it continues longer than normal, yes, than usually. It leads to too much exudation, too much plasma accumulation, and we can see this exudating tissue. Tissue is swelled, yeah, edematic, or even sometimes we can see cavity, yeah, which exudate can form cavity. Purulent, yeah, pus can destroy tissue, and even cavity can appear, yeah. Okay, there are 6 exudates exactly, even 7 if we add mixed variant, because some combination can be also formed in different diseases. But according to exactly composition, there are 6, yeah. And you have to separate them on dependent and independent. Dependent, they develop usually, yeah, they are added to independent usually, yeah, or they are formed from independent. Is it clear?
Ma'am, can you explain again this? Independent and independent?
Independent exudates, they form primary. Yeah, it is serous, fibrinous, and purulent. It means that this kind of exudate, it depends on cause, specific reaction, specific features of this microbial agent, yeah, lead to accumulation of specific amount of mediators, and we can see primary purulent inflammation, yeah, fibrinous inflammation or serous inflammation. But dependent inflammation, it is hemorrhagic inflammation, yeah. Continue, which kind? Catarrhal inflammation and
Mixed.
no, mixed at 7th.
Suppurative?
Icarus inflammation.
Petrificated.
No. It is, yeah, Icarus inflammation. putrefactive inflammation also, we can use this term, yeah? They are dependent, yeah? For example, Icharus inflammation.
Teacher, what
Yeah.
was the third type?
Can you repeat that?
Icharus, double C H O rose. Icharus or putrefactive inflammation. It is inflammation. Putrefactive inflammation depends on microorganism. Exactly, anaerobic microorganism leads to this inflammation. And anaerobic, what anaerobic microorganism you know? Give examples.
Clostridium perfringens.
Yeah, for example, for Clostridium perfringens, and usually they are added in wound, for example, yeah. And firstly, it was serous inflammation or purulent inflammation, yeah. And later, because of appearance of Clostridium, it becomes putrefactive, yeah. Catarrhal inflammation depends on location, because it develops just in mucous membrane. Only in mucous membrane we can see catarrhal inflammation. Very often we mistake exactly. I saw in your answers, yeah. I don't know from where you took this material, but a lot of students wrote about catarrhal inflammation in cavities of organism. Can catarrhal inflammation develop in peritoneal cavity? Can we meet catarrhal inflammation in peritoneum cavity? Yes or no?
No.
No, why?
Due to we need mucous membrane.
Yeah, because peritoneal cavity is covered by serous membrane. Yeah. In serous membrane, catarrhal inflammation couldn't develop, just in mucous membrane. Therefore, catarrhal inflammation can happen in the respiratory tract, in gastrointestinal, everywhere where exactly mucous membrane is covered by, yeah? And hemorrhagic inflammation depends on vascular wall properties, because exactly hemorrhagic inflammation it is developed because of
Severe infections?
no
Increase in
infarction.
permeability.
Or hemorrhagic?
Increase in
Vascular-
permeability.
Yeah, exactly. Red blood cells come out from the vascular wall. Yeah, it could be because of critical vascular permeability increasing, or even rupture, injury of vascular wall. Because, for example, in severe intoxication, in some severe diseases, infection diseases, vascular wall is damaged. And yeah, for example, in very severe infections, yeah, and erythrocytes go out from the vascular wall and they are added into exudate. Very often, this exudate is mixed. If we are talking about hemorrhage. Yeah, inflammation could be serous hemorrhagic, fibrinous hemorrhagic, and others. Yeah, purulent hemorrhagic. Very often. Yeah, they are independent, and independent. It is serous exudate, purulent exudate, and fibrinous exudate. Yeah. Every exudate consists of water, electrolytes and proteins, yeah, minerals and electrolytes, proteins. Next, blood cells, inflammatory cells, cells which exactly hematogenic cells, which exactly come from blood, yeah, dead tissue, which exactly destroyed some cells, tissue, which where does it happen, and a cause. It could be microbial agent, bacteria, virus, or something else. Yeah, 6 exactly component has every of exudate. Yeah, but the difference between exudate, which component is prevail, yeah, exactly from that 6 component, which exactly prevail in amount exactly, yeah. If it is exactly water, if it is watery exudate, yeah, it consists predominantly from water, it is serous exudate. Therefore, very often it looks like edematic fluid, yeah. And if it is serous pneumonia, it looks like pulmonary edema in truth, because this exudate, the difference between serous pneumonia, for example, and pulmonary edema, it's exactly presence of microbial agent. Very often this pneumonia caused by viruses. Yeah, and we can see in exudate a lot of viruses. If exudate predominantly consists of neutrophils, exactly blood cells and neutrophils, what kind of exudate is it?
Hemorrhagic.
Purulent.
Purulent.
Purulent. Yeah, neutrophils, and if it has creamy-like consistency, whitish, yellowish color. Good afternoon again.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
afternoon.
No, ma'am.
A few days ago, Zoom wasn't be limited, it was all unlimited. I don't know, but yeah, everything come back. Okay, what was the last pass? Yeah.
Can you
Come
repeat once?
about pass.
If it has creamy like consistency, ma'am, you were talking about that.
Yeah, whitish, yellowish color, even greenish, and unpleasant smell. Yeah, unpleasant smell it has, this exudate. And it consists of the main component, it is exactly neutrophils. Yeah, but what does happen with neutrophils in it, in exudate? Neutrophil, it's microphage, microphage, because it can phagocyte small particles, not large, small, very, very small, tiny particles they can engulf. And they appear in time after 24 hours, we can see exactly a lot of neutrophils in that region. It is the first cell which can, the first phagocyte which can appear in the inflammatory region. They engulf some bacteria or some particles of dead tissue, and what happens with them? What does happen with neutrophil?
Ma'am, they die because of the large particles.
No, they can't. What does happen with neutrophil in inflammatory region?
Accumulation.
Okay, what is neutrophil doing in it?
Phagocytosis, ma'am.
Engulfing the
Phagocytosis, yeah, two ending for phagocytosis.
Necrotic.
Apoptosis, necrosis.
No,
Necrotic.
two kinds of phagocytosis you have to know.
Pinocytosis and phagocytosis.
No, I'm
Exocytosis,
asking about
endocytosis.
Endo and
No.
exocytosis.
No, there are ways. I'm not about ways. I'm asking about exactly pathogenetically as according to result, what two kinds of phagocytosis.
We have macro and micro.
Necrotic cells.
No. Phagocytosis. What does it mean, phagocytosis?
Engulfing and digestion of
Yeah,
The
and
foreign
destroying.
particles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because in the end, this particle should be destroyed, or even if it is alive microorganism, it could be killed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and two results could be neutrophil or another cell. Yeah, I am talking about phagocytosis. Phagocyte engulf this particle, and two results. What can happen?
Complete lysis or residual body formation. One would be lysis, the other would be residual body formation.
Residual body, not always. It means finished and unfinished phagocytosis.
Complete, incomplete.
Yeah. Inflammation or complete, incomplete. Yeah, phagocytosis. Complete or finished phagocytosis, it means that exactly that digestion is finished. Everything is destroyed. Yeah. Can we see inflammation in it?
No.
No. Yeah. Exactly. Disease, inflammatory disease, exudate or cellular infiltration develops because of incomplete, unfinished phagocytosis, because they can't do it. They can destroy this cause of inflammation, and therefore disease develops. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And if it is neutrophil, unfinished phagocytosis, what should be in result? What does lead to it?
acute and chronic.
Chronic.
What is the result for neutrophil? If
Purulent.
neutrophil can't destroy this engulfed particle,
Pathogen.
what does happen with neutrophil?
It kills itself.
Not kill itself. This particle is exactly what was digested kills him. Yeah, it means necrosis of neutrophil develops. Therefore, in pus we can see a lot of necrotized neutrophils. And what is the name of that neutrophil? That neutrophil is purulent body. And it is two different passes. Firstly, in pus, we can see a lot of alive neutrophils. Yeah, but in progression, yeah, if it continues, in the past we can see a lot of purulent bodies.
Doctor, but for a single cell, we never said the word necrosis. For a single cell, we said apoptosis always occurs.
No.
No? Okay.
No. Apoptosis is physiological death. Neutrophil shouldn't, it didn't live the whole life. The death happened before. Apoptosis, it's physiological death. It means that cell lives as usual, as normal, 1 month or a little bit more, yeah? And after that, apoptosis, physiological death develops.
Okay.
But if death happens before end of the life, it is necrosis. It doesn't matter. It is one cell or a lot of cells. It depends on term where exactly this cell died. Is it clear?
Doctor, clear.
Clear? Okay. What was my question? Before it. What did I talk before?
Phagocytosis.
Phagocytosis. What is the difference? How do you think? Pass with a lot of alive neutrophils or pass with a lot of purulent body? Which of them is more dangerous?
Dead neutrophils.
Why?
With purulent bodies.
Yeah, the second one
Purulent bodies,
is
yes,
a
dead
lot of
neutrophils.
purulent.
Because immune response is suppressed.
Yeah.
Because
Tell me
immune response
please,
can't deal with it.
tell me please, which necrosis develops in neutrophils?
Coagulative.
Liquefactive.
Colliquative,
ma'am.
Colliquative necrosis.
Which exactly?
Coagulative.
Okay. What
Colliquative.
dystrophy? Okay, what dystrophy does develop before necrosis?
Irreversible dystrophy.
What kind of dystrophy develops before
Ma'am,
necrosis?
fibrinoid swelling.
Fibrinoid and
In cell?
Also.
We are talking about
Parenchyma,
dystrophy
parenchyma.
in cell.
Parenchyma
Therefore,
dystrophy.
which kind of dystrophy? If we are talking about inside the cell,
Parenchyma.
parenchymal, which parenchymal dystrophy does develop
Granular
in
dystrophy.
Granular.
What problem does develop? What problem does happen in it?
Ma'am, hydropic.
Yeah, hydropic, yeah.
Why?
hydropic.
Why?
Water accumulation.
Okay, what
Ma'am, because
mechanism
of
of this?
accumulation.
Okay, try to imagine what mechanism of dystrophy does
Teacher,
develop.
a granule.
What
Decomposition.
mechanism?
Decomposition.
Decomposition. Why?
Because the structure
Cellular structures are destroyed.
there's no collection of anything from the blood.
Because what is the main function of exactly of neutrophil? What should neutrophil do?
Neutrophil should digest the foreign body.
Phagocytosis.
Phagocytize.
Enzymes and then kill the bacteria.
How?
Through lysosomes. Enzymes.
By enzymes. Digestion.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
main digestion it means, and digestion depends on enzymes and where exactly enzymes are present.
Lysozymes.
In lysosomes. Therefore, destruction of lysosomes, it is the first what does happen in neutrophils. Decomposition, and decomposition leads to which kind of dystrophy? Does develop because of no. What is decomposition?
The disintegration of
Ultrastructures of the cell.
Structures and ultrastructures consist of what? What does it consist of?
Phospholipids and
proteins. Which kind of dystrophy?
Granular.
No, it is not granular.
Decomposition only.
It would be hydropic.
Ultrastructures. What does ultrastructure consist of?
Cellular.
Ma'am, proteins.
Mitochondria and organelles that are essential for a cell survival.
What does consist of?
Membrane, lipids and proteins.
Proteins and
Lipids.
phospholipids.
Predominantly what? Proteins or lipids?
Lipids.
Lipids. Therefore, which kind of dystrophy should we expect?
Fat
Dystrophy.
generation.
Glycoprotein dystrophy.
Fatty degeneration.
Fat. Fat
dystrophy.
dystrophy. And which necrosis should develop?
Proliferative necrosis.
Fat necrosis.
Fat
Fat
degeneration.
necrosis.
Fat necrosis. Fat dystrophy leads to fat necrosis. What does happen? It means that too much fat accumulates in the cell.
Mhm.
A little bit water also, yeah, because exactly this salt and water in, yeah, differences also changed, and it leads to rupture. In the end, it is ruptured, and it becomes purulent body, but everything what was inside go outside in pus. Therefore, what does pus contain specifically? What does come from purulent bodies?
Fat.
Fat and
Neutrophils.
Dead neutrophils.
why does it happen?
Because of incomplete phagocytosis.
How does this dystrophy develop? How does it develop firstly?
Decomposition of the
Yeah, from what?
Enzymes.
From lysosomal enzymes.
lysozymes.
From lysosomes, and therefore enzymes which were inside in neutrophils, yeah, they come and accumulate in pus. If pus contains a lot of purulent body, it means it contains a lot of enzymes. Is it dangerous or not?
It's dangerous, ma'am, because
Dangerous,
the
dangerous,
enzymes
ma'am.
can cause rupture of other
Why?
cells.
Ma'am,
also.
because the enzymes will affect the neighboring cells
Digest
also.
other cells also.
Surrounding cells.
Yeah, therefore what does happen? Tissue
Inflammation
lysis.
continues.
Histolysis. It means the tissue sliced, yeah, destroyed in region where exactly pus accumulates. Therefore, we can see cavity. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
It happens just because of pus, because pus contains enzymes. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what is the cause of purulent inflammation? Why these neutrophils are accumulated in a great amount? Why?
Infection.
Which?
Ma'am, increase of endothelial cells.
Which infection? It is
Anaerobic.
always
Anaerobic infection. Oh, sorry.
No.
Allergic.
Microbes.
Which microbes? There are too much microbes.
Anaerobic, ma'am.
Purulent
No.
Streptococci.
Anaerobic bacteria leads to which kind of inflammation?
Icaros. Icaros infection.
Icaros.
Icaros.
Now we are talking about purulent inflammation. Bacteria. Staphylococcus, streptococcus, and another bacteria. Yeah, just bacteria lead to great amount of neutrophils accumulation. Yeah, and therefore, how can we treat if we see pus? How should we treat it? Antibiotics. We have to kill. We have to help to kill bacteria because organism can't do it. Is it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
In there are a few kinds and no, before, yeah, like in general features of neutrophils, how neutrophil move in the inflammatory region, yeah. The direct movement of neutrophil or leukocyte at all, yeah, not exactly neutrophil, leukocyte movement in inflammatory region, it is chemotaxis. It happens because of chemotactic substances, chemotactic mediators accumulation, yeah. There are substances which exactly lead to direct movement of cell to them, yeah. Exactly the movement of leukocyte through vascular wall, it is leucodiapedesis. It is like part of hemataxis. Hemataxis is exactly, yes, all movement, exactly. From blood vessels to region of inflammation, leucodiapedesis, yeah. And this leukocyte migration has a few stages. Yeah, do you remember them?
Rolling, adhesion,
transmigration,
Loss of laminar blood flow,
Then adhesion.
hemotaxis,
The first one, which is it?
Margination.
margination and rolling.
Margin, it's edge, yeah. Margination, it means that a leukocyte come out from bloodstream and go to the vascular wall, to endothelium, and stays near endothelial wall. It is margination, yeah. And what is it doing there? Next stage. What is the next stage?
Immigration.
Rolling. We are talking about migration. There are phases of leukocyte migration. The first phase, margination. Second phase is rolling. Roll. What does happen? It means that it movement, yeah, a specific movement of cell on the surface of this exactly of endothelium to find their exactly interendothelial cell space, yeah. It means contact between endothelial cells. From this region between endothelial cells, leukocyte can move deeper. Who help exactly? Who helps to do it, to roll the leukocyte?
P-selectins.
Yeah, selectins. And after rolling, after leukocyte finds this region between endothelial cells, and other receptors,
Integrins.
Yeah, integrins give ability to adhere. Therefore, next phase is adhesion.
One doubt. Does the endothelial surface has integrins or the neutrophil has the integrins? Like P-selectin is on the endothelial layer, right?
But they have also endothelial cells.
Yeah, and integrins are on the surface of endothelial cells or the leukocyte?
Endothelial cells.
Okay.
But exactly this particle has a close particle has a leukocyte also.
Okay.
This receptor, but exactly selectin and integrin, they are endothelial cells receptors.
Okay.
Okay, and integrins give ability to adhere this leukocyte to endothelial cell. Yeah. Therefore, selectins, gives very weak adhesion. It isn't adhesion, it's like very weak connection between leukocyte, heavy leukocyte, and endothelial cells. After this connection formation, yeah, because leukocyte is very heavy and bloodstream broke down this connection, and leukocyte change position. Next selectin connect to each other. Next connection forms, and at the same time also it is broke down. Is it clear? Therefore, we can see this movement because of breaking of connection, selectin's connection. But integrin gives a strong connection between endothelial cells and leukocyte. Is it clear or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. And this very strong connection give ability to leukocyte form pseudopodia. They change the shape and move through between endothelial cells and come to what is the next? What does locate deeper than endothelial cells?
Basal membrane.
Subendothelial.
Yeah, basal membrane. And how this movement, how leukocyte can move through base membrane?
Diapetes.
What do you mean? Diapedesis, it's exactly movement, but how diapedesis develops? How is it possible, diapedesis? Because basal membrane has a jelly,
very small pores.
No, it doesn't have pores, because it's like a gel, like toothpaste, exactly. Toothpaste, exactly. Has consistency, jelly consistency, and how this leukocyte can move through base membrane.
Basement membrane is made of collagen.
Because of
Disruption.
Tixotropy phenomena.
What?
Tixotropy phenomena gives ability for leukocyte to move through base membrane. Tixotropy phenomena. Dia, you wrote it in the classwork, and you forgot.
Yes, but we knew about, but we didn't understand what it was doing. We just knew it moved from a place from a.
It's tixotropy phenomena. It's reversible. Reversible changing of basal membrane viscosity from gel to zol, it means liquid consistency, to leukocyte movement through it. Yeah, it is ability of leukocyte, because exactly leukocyte come to basal membrane, touch to basal membrane, and because of this contact, just a second, yeah, enzymes which exactly leukocyte produce in this contact region, basal membrane in region of contact becomes liquid. Yeah, it's like window formation in basal membrane, and leukocyte through this window, through this liquid window, can move through basal membrane. After contact is finished, basal membrane becomes again gel. Is it clear? And this ability to change viscosity of basal membrane is thixotropy phenomena. Because usually vascular wall it's exactly here, it give ability to blood cells stay in it. Yeah, don't give ability to move cells through it. Just a few cells and just in very, very difficult exactly situation, give ability to change viscosity, basal membrane viscosity. Thixotropy phenomena. And after that, after this movement through basal membrane, through vascular wall, this leukocyte moves to the inflammatory region. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yes. And phagocytosis, it is the last stage of leukocyte migration. Yeah. Okay. Therefore, this extravasation, not extravasation of leukocyte happens because of thixotropy phenomena. Next, what should you know from inflammation? The main component of fibrinous, we are continue talking about exudate. The main component of fibrinous exudate is fibrin. Fibrin is coagulated fibrinogen. In our bloodstream, in our blood, we have a lot of proteins. And one of them, it's very big protein. One of the biggest protein in our blood is fibrinogen. In critical vascular permeability, it happens exactly because of specific chemical properties of bacteria or some another toxins. For example, in diphtheria, because Corynebacteria of diphtheria, this infection, exactly lead to critical, very severe increase in vascular permeability. Or in uremia, uric acid presence, exactly, urine, increasing creatinine, increasing in blood. Also, this toxic substance can lead to exactly critically increased vascular permeability. And fibrinogen go out from bloodstream outside. In presence of thromboplastin, fibrinogen coagulates into fibrin. It means that from gel, because fibrinogen, it's a jelly substance, jelly protein, but fibrin, it is dense protein, like after boiling, exactly, protein becomes dense, and dryness and density of protein is coagulation. And a lot of fibers, fibrin fibers, exactly accumulate in it. Thromboplastin, which is necessary for coagulation, thromboplastin appears because of necrosis, because this substance which exactly appears from destroyed cells. Very often fibrinous inflammation develops in membrane, in mucus or serous membrane. It means that exactly cells which are covered exactly this membrane destroyed. Thromboplastin come from these destroyed cells, and necrotic, these dead cells with thromboplastin are covered, are fixated by fibrin fibers. And it leads to film formation. It means that this film consists of dead tissue, which exactly imbibited, which is rich in fibrin. Because fibrin exactly, it's like a network in these dead cells. Is it clear? It has whitish, grayish color. Is it clear or not? Because it's very quiet and I don't understand who I'm talking
Can you
about.
explain this film formation once
Yes,
again? Fibrin film
clear.
formation.
Film forms exactly because of injury of serous or mucous membrane and fibrinogen exudation in that injured region of membrane. Fibrinogen coagulation lead to fibrin formation. Fibrin forms like a network in this destroyed tissue, destroyed membrane surface. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
It means that film consists of these destroyed cells, fibrin, and some blood cells. Could be leukocyte, neutrophils, lymphocytes, and another cells, yeah? And some another proteins also could be, yeah? And on the surface of mucus or serous membrane, we can see whitish grayish film. It could be thick or thin, and thickening of the film depends on deepness of necrosis. Deep necrosis, if it is exactly deep necrosis, leads to very thick film formation, and this thick film very deeply attached to the exactly underlying tissue, yeah, and it's very difficult to remove it. Is it clear? And which kind of fibrinous inflammation is it? Diphtheritic. Yeah, diphtheritic is characterized by deep necrosis and very thick film formation. And usually it happens, not usually, always, diphtheritic inflammation develops in mucous membrane covered by usually squamous epithelium, and sometimes in columnar epithelium, for example, in large intestine, in dysenteritic colitis. Yeah, it is diphtheritic colitis because columnar, it is covered by columnar epithelium, but deep necrosis develops because in large intestine, a very thick submucosal layer. And if necrosis develops in mucosa, at the same time, it becomes deeper because of progression of necrosis in submucosa, very fast progression. Therefore, usually in the large intestine, deep necrosis develops, and we can see diphtheritic inflammation in it. But very often it is exactly squamous epithelium mucous membrane, yeah? And exactly I wanted from you 5 examples minimum, yeah? It is, yeah, diphtheritic colitis in dysentery, for example, yeah? Fibrin, yeah, tonsillitis, tonsils, inflammation in tonsils, yeah, gingivitis in gingiva, pharyngitis, esophagitis, vaginitis. There are all examples of exactly of diphtheritic inflammation. mucous membrane which are covered by squamous epithelium, and exception about large intestine. Crupus inflammation, second kind of fibrinous inflammation, it develops in superficial necrosis, where necrosis is very superficial, and film is very thin, and it is weakly attached to their tissues, and it could be easily removed. Crupus inflammation develops in serous membranes. In serous membrane, only crupus inflammation could be, and in mucous membrane covered by columnar epithelium. And examples, what could be? All serous membrane, it is fibrinous peritonitis, fibrinous pericarditis, fibrinous pleuritis, crupus pneumoniae, of 1 year old, because in children, Corynebacteria can penetrate deeper in respiratory tract, exactly in bronchi. It can go exactly in bronchi and penetrate in bronchial wall and lead to inflammation in it. And which kind of inflammation should be?
Crupus bronchitis.
Crupus, because it appears in bronchi. And crupus inflammation is very, why exactly it is very dangerous for children? Because in crupus inflammation, this film very weakly attached to tissues, and even exactly itself, it could be disattached in breathing and block the airway. And what can happen?
Obstructive pulmonary disease.
Obstruction, how should we name? And obstruction lead to
Bronchoconstriction.
asphyxia.
Okay.
Constriction is exactly spasm, but it isn't exactly block because it is blocked. And this condition, if a film, if airway is blocked by film, it is true croup. the name. Yeah, false croup happens because of constriction, bronchial constriction in allergic reaction, for example. It is false croup because it isn't blocked. Yeah. It is constructed.
Yeah.
Because it clear. Therefore, diphtheria, it is an example of inflammation. In diphtheria, in some person, we can see diphtheritic inflammation, yeah? In another, in children, for example, Krupus inflammation. Don't give example as disease, because it depends. It can be located in different region, and therefore different kind of inflammation could be. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. About purulent inflammation. Yeah, purulent inflammation. You have to know generally 3 kinds, but they have more examples. Yeah, but generally you have to know abscess, phlegmon, and empyema. Yeah, empyema, and also, for example, what? Panaritium, yeah. Okay, it's enough. Yeah. Abscess, phlegmon, I don't want to mix information in your brain exactly. Yeah. Abscess, phlegmon, empyema. What is the main difference between them? Abscess, it is local purulent inflammation which leads to cavity formation with pus inside. Yeah, because it's local. Phlegmon, it is diffuse. It is not separated. Here is spreaded purulent inflammation. And empyema, it is accumulation of pus in cavities. Very often empyema, it is like outcome of purulent inflammation or abscess, for example. Abscess could lead, lung abscess can lead to empyema in pleura. Therefore, abscess, it is local purulent inflammation, yeah? And there are 2 kinds of abscess, acute and chronic. The difference between them, chronic abscess, it is cavity always. Acute abscess can be cavity, but firstly, if inflammation develops, it happens. Yeah, cavity it isn't formed, just exactly this tissue is rich in pus, but cavity we couldn't see. Yeah, after time, cavity is formed. Yeah, if we find cavity, it could be acute or chronic. How can we differentiate them? Chronic abscess wall has 3 layers. Yeah, in truth there are 2, but exactly, yeah. The internal layer, internal layer of the chronic abscess is pyogenic membrane, which is granulation tissue. And in the surface of this tissue, we can see pus components and dead cells in that region. Pyogenic, pyo means pus, genic production. Yeah, a granulation tissue, it is young, immature connective tissue, which is rich in vessels. It has a lot of vessels. And the main component of pus comes from them. What is the main component of pus?
Neutrophil.
Neutrophils.
Neutrophils come from blood vessels, from blood. Therefore, pyogenic membrane, it is this exactly granulation tissue. And external layer is mature, dense connective tissue. It has a smooth surface, therefore usually chronic abscess is exactly clear, separated from healthy tissue, and we can see this whitish line. It is exactly dense connective tissue capsule, which is second deep layer of the chronic abscess wall. And inside we can see pus. Phlegmon. Do you have questions from abscess?
Teacher, can you
Ma'am,
You told
middle
3 layers, but you only told internal and external.
names?
I told layers, but
Internal and external. What is the third one?
in truth there are two, but in some regions you can see three: pyogenic membrane, granulation tissue, and connective tissue, dense connective tissue. But pyogenic membrane is granulation tissue in truth.
Okay.
Is it clear? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. What else?
So in acute, it's only pyogenic membrane and granulation.
No, acute granulation tissue, acute abscess, usually doesn't have granulation tissue. Granulation tissue appears in progression, because the granulation tissue, it is young, immature connective tissue. In period when acute abscess is becoming chronic, pyogenic membrane appears. Is it clear?
Yeah, so what membrane is found in
clear acute abscess, we can see exactly the internal layer. It is dead tissue rich in pus components, and externally it is surrounded by dense tissue organ. Where does it happen?
In the fibrous membrane. Okay. No, don't worry. Dense tissue. Okay, thank you.
Dead tissue covered by dense tissue organ. Where does it happen? Not in other tissue. Exactly. Yeah. If it is in the liver, therefore hepatic liver tissue, but it is dense because of inflammation. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Teacher, in some books, it's like it is given that acute is pyogenic granulation, that's all, and chronic is pyogenic granulation plus mature dense tissue.
Yes, and I was explained to you that granulation tissue appears in period when acute abscess is becoming chronic.
Okay.
Is it clear? Because it is connective tissue, another tissue appears.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, if it isn't, it hasn't became exactly chronic, mature connective tissue, exactly, didn't develop, therefore we can see granulation tissue. In conclusion, we have to write acute abscess, but with pyogenic membrane, we can write it in conclusion.
Okay.
It means that this abscess is present more than 2-3 weeks.
Means like in subacute stage. Sorry,
No.
subchronic stage.
subchronic, but we don't use this term, yeah? Because in medicine, it isn't exactly here. We don't have direct timetable of process of diseases and something else, yeah? But we should decide what exactly, yeah? For me, I write as conclusion acute abscess with pyogenic membrane. Yeah, and if doctor has imagination, therefore he understood that exactly this abscess was present 3 weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks before. Yeah. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Phlegmon, next kind of purulent inflammation, phlegmon. Phlegmon, it is diffuse purulent inflammation. Yeah. It leads to spreading of pus between muscle fibers, spreading in fat tissue, yeah, and cellulitis, for example, yeah. And phlegmon could be, there are 2 kinds of phlegmon, dense and soft. Soft phlegmon is characterized by colliquative histolysis and colliquative necrosis. Some partial colliquative necrosis can develop in tissues, but dense phlegmon is characterized by presence of coagulative dry necrosis. And in that kind of purulent inflammation, tissue becomes dense. Yeah? And for example, often subcutaneous fat tissue, phlegmon can develop. And if you see inflammation, if you see redness, tumor, like swelling of tissue, it's very warm, hot, and in palpation it is dense, yeah, we should understand that it is dense phlegmon. It means that coagulative necrosis was formed in tissue, and we should exactly remove this necrosis. For favorable treatment, we should do it, yeah. And first of all, we have to use antibiotics in every purulent inflammation, yeah. But if necrosis has appeared, we have to remove it to regenerate these tissues, to treat it better, yeah. Okay. And empyema, it is accumulation of pus in cavities, in pleural cavity, in peritoneal cavity, in appendix cavity, in gallbladder cavity. If it is pus accumulating cavity, our cavity, yeah, not exactly cavity which is formed because of inflammation, because abscess leads to cavity formation. Cavity wasn't before in it, yeah, but empyema develops in our cavity, our usual cavities. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what else? Yeah, about catarrhal inflammation. Catarrhal inflammation, I told you, yes, and you also have answered me that this inflammation develops on mucosa membrane. The main component of exudate in it is exactly mucus. It has a lot of mucus. Hypersecretion of mucus always develops in catarrhal inflammation, yeah. And there are 3 kinds of exudate. If you remember, everybody had inflammation in nasal cavity, yeah.
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 Have you had it? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and there are 3 kinds of exactly what can move from nasal cavity in it, yeah. It is firstly, if rhinitis starts in, for example, in flu, rhinitis, and we can see clear, a lot of fluid with liquid from nasal cavity. Which kind of exudate is it?
Serous water.
Serous, serous exudate, After some time, if it isn't treated, if rhinitis is not treated, this exudate becomes thicker, more viscosity, and even whitish, yellowish, Which exudate is it?
Purulent.
Purulent exudate. And sometimes this exudate can be red because of erythrocyte, because of vascular injury. Which kind of exudate? Hemorrhagic. Therefore, 3 exudates we can see in catarrhal inflammation: serous, purulent, and hemorrhagic. One proposition was about fibrinous inflammation. Can fibrinous inflammation develops in mucous membrane?
No.
No?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. In cripus.
Very often, happens in mucous membrane, but it isn't catarrhal inflammation. Why? It develops in mucous membrane, but it isn't catarrhal inflammation. Fibrinous.
There is no film formation, ma'am. Maybe there is no film.
Because of no fibrin.
There is no exudate formation.
Because excessive mucus is absent.
How? Can inflammation be without exudate?
Yes.
How?
No.
Exudative inflammation. Exudate is the main feature of exudative inflammation. If we see
Maybe
exudate,
the films are absent. Maybe the film is absent in catarrhal inflammation.
The exudate in fibrinous inflammation will be fibrin.
My question was why fibrinous inflammation isn't catarrhal inflammation?
Because of fibrin.
Ma'am, because the exudates are different. In fibrinous, exudate is rich in fibrinogen. So that's why.
And
there's no vascular permeability, increasing vascular
how fibrin was formed without vascular permeability increasing? Is it possible?
That's why it can be found in catarrhal inflammation.
Teacher, because it has eosinophilic mucus of fibrin.
No thromboplastin. But then there's necrosis. 1 minute.
Columnar epithelium.
Could be there.
Columnar epithelium is not covered in the catarrhal.
Excessive mucus is absent for fibrinogen.
Yeah, the main feature of catarrhal inflammation, it is mucus in exudate. Exudate contains a lot of mucus. But in fibrinous inflammation, fibrin film, it means that how exactly mucus appear in exudate? Because of hypersecretion of mucosal layer. Hypersecretion. Too much mucus are produced from epithelial cells. But in fibrinous inflammation, cells died before hypersecretion. Is it clear? Because film is formed from dead cells. They can't, if they are dead, they can't produce too much mucus.
Teacher, can you repeat it?
What exactly?
About the dead cells.
The main feature of catarrhal inflammation, its location is is mucous membrane and presence of a lot of mucus in exudate. Fibrinous exudate doesn't contain mucus at all. Therefore, fibrinous exudate, it isn't catarrhal inflammation. Is it clear?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. And yes, we have talked about all, yeah, all exudates. Do you have questions about exudative inflammation?
Remember, mixed what
We
about
didn't talk
mixed?
about Icarus.
Icarus. Icarus inflammation caused by anaerobic bacteria, for example, Clostridium. Yeah, if Clostridium is added to wound or this injured region, therefore Icarus inflammation develops. In Icarus exudate, we can see too much necrotic tissue. The main component, predominantly, exudate consists of necrotic tissue. This exudate, it has dark green color. It's high viscosity. It's very dense, thick and dense, and it's unpleasant smell. Awful smell even, yeah, because of Clostridium. Clostridiums produce gas, and this gas gives awful smell. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's combination, yeah. Fibrinous purulent, fibrinous hemorrhagic exudate, serous hemorrhagic exudate, serous fibrinous exudate. It's combination of different exudates we can meet in different diseases. Okay, do you have questions from exudative inflammation? What? No question.
What causes leukocyte migration?
Leukocyte migration. Leukocyte migration. It's like a step of inflammation development.
It is not under any
in inflammation. In inflammation, yeah, it develops.
Thank you.
Okay, what else? Do you have another questions or not?
Plasma mediators.
Plasma mediators, there are three. Kallikrein-kinin systems. There are different kinins, yeah, and kallikrein. Coagulative or fibrinolytic system, anticoagulants in our plasma. And the last one, a complement system. C3, C5, and another, yeah? Complements. Okay. What else? Another questions do you have?
Cellular, we have two, histamine and serotonin. Cellular mediators are two.
No, there are a lot of. No, there are a lot of. Histamine, serotonin, bradykinin. What else? Factor tumor necrosis, tumor cell necrosis. There are a lot of. In biochemistry you have studied, in pathophysiology also. There are a lot of substances which exactly are formed from destroyed cells. I talked about histamine and serotonin because every inflammation starts from histamine, first of all, yeah, histamine appearance.
And interleukins?
On Monday, yeah, it was a question about Monday. On Monday, yes, you have to prepare. I don't remember. With some groups, we have another decision, but I don't remember. But mostly, we have decided that on Monday class you have a total summary lesson about inflammation and blood flow disturbances, yeah, and about tumors. First topic from tumors.
Okay.
Ma'am, can you please take the class for all the topics of second module? Like today we
Tomorrow I have time in the middle of the day, yeah, but
Yes,
I will write a little bit later in which exactly what time. But tomorrow I can also give exactly the time for consultation, and one more or even two more topics we can discuss. Okay, therefore you
Thank you, ma'am.
decide, and therefore if you
Ma'am,
want,
can
see
you
you tomorrow. Okay. Yeah.
can you please tell the macro preparation of liver abscess?
Macro specimen, yeah?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, if it is about exactly about our macro specimen, yeah, because exactly we have in our museum, we have liver abscess, but it isn't chronic. It is exactly this kind which has pyogenic membrane, but doesn't have formed exactly this mature connective tissue capsule. Yeah. Therefore, how should you describe it? Yeah, macro specimen is liver. It is a part of liver, portion of liver, because it exactly like a slice of liver. Capsule is normal. In investigation, it has smooth surface, a normal consistency. In cut surface, we can see round cavity, 5-6 centimeters in diameter, which exactly the bottom layer, exactly the bottom of this cavity. It's irregular masses. It isn't smooth. It is irregular. And this cavity was filled with pus, creamy, whitish, yellowish substance with unpleasant smell. But exactly in our macro specimen, it was removed because it's impossible to fixate this pus inside. Yeah. And microscopically, in exudate, you can tell that in exudate, predominantly exudate consists of purulent body, neutrophils. It means purulent exudate pus, and exactly the internal wall of this wall is covered by dead tissue, which exactly rich in purulent bodies. And a thin layer of granulation tissue we can see in it. Yeah, and according to this description, it is a liver abscess, local purulent inflammation. I think it's enough description.
Size of liver abscess will be increased or normal?
Normal. It depends, because exactly abscess doesn't lead to enlargement of organ. Yeah, but patient can have another disease also.
Okay, so
which exactly does lead. In our macrospecimen, which exactly you have this photo, and maybe if it will be oral exam, you will have exactly this macrospecimen in your table in exam, yeah? Normal size, normal consistency, normal color, normal shape and surface of the liver. Just in cut surface, we can see this cavity.
Okay, ma'am. And the form will be irregular form. Due to
Why?
cavity, the form will be changed. Due to the formation of cavity.
Cavity inside. Cavity inside. We are talking about exactly. You mean shape? Shape could be changed because of enlargement or decreasing in size.
Okay, shape can be changed, but the form will be normal.
Yes, if it is normal size, therefore shape is normal.
Okay.
And the main for us, not exactly in the liver, the main for us, surface, is it smooth or irregular? Okay. Because in cirrhosis, it is irregular. And the edges, if edges, margins are rounded, it means that liver enlarged.
Okay.
Okay. What else? What another questions do you have? No questions. Okay. Therefore, yeah. Thank you for your attention. I hope we will see tomorrow. Yeah.
One more question. I have a question about gamma. Gamma in proliferative inflammation.
I don't understand anything from that.
Ma'am, gamma in proliferative inflammation.
Yeah, gamma, it's another topic.
Yeah, you have given in the question, and
somebody talks with somebody else, not with me. Yeah.
इसकी practical में देंगे.
I don't understand. You can write me. Maybe it will be better.
Yeah, I just want to know about gamma in syphilis.
अरे ये अलग टॉपिक है मैम ने बोला ना.
From book or lecture, what do you mean that lecture and book are different? Which book do you mean? First of all, pay attention to lectures, of course, because exactly lecture, teacher, it's possible your exam teacher. Okay, what else? What another question?
Ma'am, but some of the point in lecture which we write in our answers, you said that they're wrong.
Not fully.
Inflammation.
Yeah, about Krupus inflammation. I'm not agree. Yeah. If
not from lecture, we wrote it from lecture.
Just in that, I'm not agree about no necrosis because thromboplastin we need to form film. For necrosis is present, but in Krupus inflammation it's superficial. In pneumonia, it's possible that alveolocytes, but also I'm not agree because necrosis, alveolocytes and pneumonia are present also. I don't understand what conversation. Therefore, thank you for your attention. If you have time, I will write that exactly about tomorrow, yeah? Okay, see you. Have a nice weekend. Bye bye. Good luck.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Bye, ma'am. Same to you.
Bye bye.